Hello and welcome. Is this a jar of dirt? No, it's an iced coffee. However, it is inspired by the cemetery that I live by. And the thing about England I have found is that these little cemeteries are everywhere. These tombs are old and they are crumbly, faded. Sometimes they're completely illegible. And I love them because I don't know why. I've never really examined it cognitively. It's more of an emotion that I feel that I enjoy. So this iced coffee is my graveyard dirt iced coffee. It is a recipe that is more of, not really a recipe, it's more just going for it. Fundamentally, I am not very good at making iced coffee, and I've learned the hard way. Like, I've put coffee first and then ice, and that was a mess. And then I figured out you have to put the ice, and then I put milk, oat milk, and then coffee. But the construction of this little thing is that there is ice. Now that ice, I made it the night before. I made some charcoal, activated charcoal ice, mixed it with water. Then there is a coffee ice, just pure black coffee. And then there's latte ice, which is oat milk, brown sugar, and coffee. There's also just normal ice. I also have normal ice. Now, I put that overnight, left that there. Kind of the graveyard theme, let it rest overnight. And then put it in the jar this morning. Also in the jar went some charcoal capsules. Now, I went to a health food store. They did not have the powder, so I bought these capsules, put them in there to make this kind of dirty underlayer. Then I put in oat milk, coffee, with some brown sugar, and a little splash of vanilla to make my graveyard dirt coffee, which has a dirty underlayer of charcoal sediment. It's got the clinky ice, and it's got little specks of charcoal floating in it. So it has a dirt-like quality. The vanilla and the brown sugar give it some sweetness. I put also a tiny drop of chocolate syrup in here just to give it some extra flavor. So it's actually quite good. I will be making another coffee that is inspired by the tombstone. So this is the dirt, and then I will make another charcoal coffee that's inspired by the gravestone itself. And then I have to get creative, because what I've found is that the graveyards in the United States I'm used to are quite clean, and the stones or the plaques are, what they are. But here, I don't know why, and this is probably like this in some parts of the US as well. The stones are green. They are green and spooky and crooked and cracked. So I want to bring the green into the latte, as well as the black. So there might have to be some matcha involved in the tombstone latte. Maybe I'll have to get creative with the ice that I use. We'll see. But yeah, this is the graveyard dirt latte, ice latte. I am quite proud of this. I would serve this to someone if they came over. I would say cheers. Here's your graveyard dirt coffee. And I think it would be a hit because it's just nice. One of my favorite cemeteries that I've been to is in Glendale, California. And that was Forest Lawn Cemetery. At that one, they've got this massive oil painting of Christ in the Hall of the Crucifixion Resurrection. A friend took me there I didn't know where we were going, and we got there and I was so blown away, and then I took other people as just this is a hidden gem in California and LA area. And I also went to Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Now that's, if you've heard of this thing, it's like a celebrity tourist attraction to go to the cemetery. And one of the haunting things about it is that you have to pay rent, and those who are not paying their slot, they get exhumed, evicted from the grave, and thrown out on the curb. We're talking bones. You get evicted because rent is high. It's prime real estate, baby. It's Hollywood. And if you don't pay the rent, you're gone. Even if you're dead, you need to pay the rent, okay? It doesn't stop when you die. No. I think what most appeals about graveyards, I think to a lot of people, is that they are something to be experienced in a solitary way. And they provide a kind of gentle introspection and curiosity about others. But it's gentle. There's, what's the word? Solemnity? What is that word, solemnity? Solemnity, the state or quality of being serious and dignified. Graveyards have quite the solemnity. Funny enough, so does coffee, solemnity. I really like the definition of solemnity that comes from Webster's Dictionary 1828.com. This is quite interesting. I'm seeing the King's Bible, the King James Bible ad next to it. That's quite interesting. Anyway, speaking of solemnity, a rite or ceremony annually performed with religious reverence. It's quite interesting. A religious ceremony, a ritual performance, a ceremony adapted to impress awe, the solemnities of the last day, a manner of acting awfully serious, gravity, steady seriousness, affected gravity. Strange, isn't it? There's something about the space of a cemetery that attracts that kind of weighted gravity, and we look down on people who act a fool at graveyards. We look down on that because you are supposed to have a reverence and a seriousness for the situation. It's quite interesting. We really do not reserve that for in real life, do we? In this life. We tend, at least I tend to conceptualize life as very messy and very ridiculous and very odd, and human behavior incredibly contradictory and complex. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of reference that I have for institutions and people in institutions, because people are really fun and really funny and weird and freaks of nature. So I treat people like they are fun, interesting freaks of nature, and I get very excited. And the living world typically is a very excited place. But when we think about the beyond, we think about all matters of heaven, we think about angels, we think about that world, for some reason, that world, there's a non-humanness about it. It transcends this world. So in the human world, there's fried chicken and cigarettes. In that world, there's something that we understand is not like beyond fried chicken, beyond, jars of iced coffee and video making. There's supposed to be something that is the utmost thing, the highest of the highest order, the goodest of the goodest great thing. I have no reason to think that that doesn't exist. There's been too much weird stuff in my life. I take what other people say seriously as well. So my personal belief is that there's absolutely something. 100%. Whatever strange, probably many things, whatever strange containers of consciousness there are, it might be infinite, I don't know. But there's definitely something. Consciousness is transformed dimensionally. So I think we treat that further dimensionality with respect because, I don't know if they have improv theater and ugly shoes. I don't know if they do. I don't know if they have a Las Vegas of the beyond. So we have a Las Vegas, right? Elvis weddings are a thing, I think. And it's like, we're doing that. We do that as animals. I don't know if they're doing the spicy noodle challenge in the beyond. My computer made a sound and I lost my train of thought. And my coffee is really hitting me. Wow, if you couldn't tell, the caffeine. There's like 2 espresso shots in this little thing. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Gross hair on it. It's my hair, sorry. I really like graveyards, is what I'm trying to say. And they really make me, I like being in that reverential place, the solemnity. I enjoy solemnity. I think it's important to get in touch with that feeling. I think it shows some respect for life. It shows some humility. And it shows, a kind of surrender and an acceptance. So I think that it's very important to see cemeteries. It's important that they have that air about them and that we practice solemnity and, think it's okay. Being serious and genuine is okay and good. And I like it when people make art from that place or write from that place. When I was younger, I used to really cringe at it. But I wanted to make work from that place secretly. I've always liked gothic stuff. I like that seriousness of the beyond. And so I really like cemeteries as a feature for many, many reasons, and this being chief among them is that atmosphere of deep contemplation, but a feeling, really a feeling state, where you can feel the emotion of solemnity, or the emotions that arise from this as a thing. I made a video a while back, like a year ago maybe, about paranormal things that I have experienced. And there's 2 main features of that stick out in my psychology. The first is that time period in my adolescence where it was like 2 or 3 years where I wasn't being haunted, and the house that I lived in, I don't think had a ghost or anything, but I think that whole time period was haunted. I think the whole thing was haunted when I look back on it. Maybe it was something about my psychology at that time. Maybe it was the town. I don't know. But I do think an entire moment can be haunted or strange or odd, where things manifest. I had a really weird neighbor. Talked about that. Just a really strange neighbor. I had a really strange encounter, a few, with different individuals that I think we remember those so potently as children, when somebody maybe doesn't have the best intentions. I've had really just strange moments of things that stick out to me, like the walk from my house to the library. It was so powerful and odd and eerie, and there was one house, I talk about this in that video, there was one house that had a light on always at this like top, and I saw horns in the window at one point, like static, like maybe not antelope, the ones that are really pointy. Anyway, the whole time period was saturated in that feeling, that liminal feeling like anything could happen. And indeed, weird things did happen. And my mom and I moved from that house, that neighborhood, and it was all vanished. It was all gone. It was something about this, like almost like a pool of water you cannot see, and that time becomes kind of like quicksand, and strange things are mixing and melting in it. And I think that's a feature of the beyond, is that kind of strange overlapping and folding of time. I think that's what glitch in the matrices are. There's so many stories of people who just have a glitch in the matrix. I tell that story in that video. How can you explain these? But it's a loop. To me, that suggests the further dimensionality, that at a certain point in a further dimension, you get weird things that happen all the time, and things are not so separated here than there. There is a touching or a kind of interaction that we see the effects of, strange effects of, in our everyday lives. And I think getting in touch with the beyond, I think it happens to you whether you want to or not. I think some people do, like, turn the other way, but many people will experience in their life, involuntarily, some suggestion of the beyond. And it's fascinating to hear about. It's funny that cemeteries, I find, almost sterile. It's like the museum of the dimension. It's a museum of further dimensionality. It's like a presentation for the living, but the beyond happens when you're in your room and something really weird happens, or a person appears in your neighborhood that you never see again, but you just feel something is off. You know, the dimensionality comes from the strange things that happen when somebody passes away, the signs and the symbols and things that filter in and out. Cemeteries, as a feature to me, have always felt quite still, and not a lot of activity. They feel quite peaceful. And then chaos is elsewhere, somewhere else. But the cemetery is a place you can go to feel that seriousness and the gravity, and that the beyond, I find that the beyond manifests in many other ways that are quite interwoven in life, in a lot of people's life, in a way that's interesting, makes me think. I will never forget this. I had a stroke about 4 years ago. I've talked about that plenty on this channel. But for a year before I did, I felt that I was going to die. I just didn't know how. You know, I'm totally fine. But something kind of strange, miraculous happened. About a month before the stroke, and I was still thinking, I think something is going to happen to me, but I don't know what. I had a dream, and the whole dream was blue, and in the dream, there was an invisible dragon in my grandmother's dining room, and I was in the living room, and I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there, and it was huge. And in the dream, in my left hand, which is the side that I had the stroke on, the right side of my brain affected the left side of my body, But in this dream, a month before the stroke, I used my left hand to hold up a staff, like a Gandalf wizard staff. And it shone this light that kept the dragon at bay. And because my left hand was weak and I was having a hard time holding up the staff, I felt behind me. I didn't see anyone, but in this blue dream, I felt that behind me, all blue, was every woman in my family lineage. Starting with both my grandmothers were next to me, and then women behind them. And they all held up my arm, and that caused the light to really shove the dragon away, and I woke up. And I felt when I woke up that I was going to live, that something might be coming for me, but I wasn't, that I was going to survive it. A month later, I had the stroke. Left side of my body was affected, paralyzed at the time, and I survived it. How do you explain that? You cannot. No one can. That is just one of those things. It is something else. It is some weird feature of the brain. It is some weird folding of time. There's too many stories. There's too many people. And I think it will happen to almost every single person. At some point in your life, it's going to happen. A fortuitous dream, a flash of insight, an intuition that anticipates an event or some other thing happening, an occurrence. Not always spooky, sometimes like my dream, very good and feeling amazing and thinking, I have seen something, I have received something wonderful. So, I am an absolute believer in the beyond. I have no idea what it looks like, but there's so much evidence to me, lived, embodied sense of reality, that there's other things at work, that the dimensionality is absolutely present. There's not a coin that you flip and you're alive or you're not, and it's this world or it's that world, that it's probably some immense structure mathematically that makes no sense to the human brain. And that's what I believe. And that's what graveyards, I think, tie me to physically and allow me to rest in the emotion of that. And then I made a coffee inspired by that, which, as you can see, I'm making my way through. It's very good. I recommend this charcoal base to the coffee. It's very detoxing. I read that on the internet. I wanted to share this coffee with you. I wanted to share what I've been thinking about. I live by a cemetery. I enjoy going to the cemetery. I like it. I like history. But I also like this word that I now know is solemnity. I like having had experiences that you could classify as supernatural or paranormal. And I like having solemnity as like a cultural place and ritual, the feeling that arises from that. So the chaos of the paranormal world, the chaos of experiencing things in a strange, divine, multidimensional way, and also having institutionally the cemetery and that feeling of solemnity, feeling of taking this serious, having respect and reverence for what has come before and the unknown future, probably the unknown many futures. So that's this video. It's a bit summerween vibe, isn't it? I'm in the mood. A heat wave is on the way, and I'm like, I want the fall. But I'm trying not to rush through the year and enjoy the summerween. So, hence the iced coffee, because it's hot outside. Anyway, thank you so much for spending some time with me in this video. Thank you. I will be back with more. My gosh, I have a lot of videos planned. So I hope you will join me again, and hopefully I'll have a tombstone coffee at some point, which will be the darker black and green cousin to this graveyard dirt brown and black coffee. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Good night, and